Hello and welcome to the Solve Network. I'm Shane Borza, host of the podcast. Along with my co-founder Benjamin Goss, we'd like to welcome you. Our mission is to provide solutions and create a network of experts for you to learn from. We hope this episode and expert helps you to learn, grow, and move forward. And now, on with the show.
Scene one, Apple, take one.
Hi, I'm Shane Borza, your content creator coach. I have 2 books on filmmaking, Film Notes, where you learn to write, direct, and produce, and the Film Notes Workbook, where you can learn checklists and paperwork to streamline creating your content. Available at shaneborza.com. I also have filmmaker resources like the Paperwork Bundle with over 300 documents, the Sound Effects Bundle with almost 3,000 files, and the Music Bundle featuring 900 tracks of all genres. Want to build your professional credits? Become an associate producer and get listed on IMDb. Let me help you get your art out into the world.
Scene one, Apple, take one.
So before I get into any of the questions I see in the chat, I wanted to see if anyone wanted to jump in and comment on anything, or if you have any questions of your own. Feel free to just unmute yourself and dive right in.
Tom unmuted, and then Marina had her hand up. So go ahead, Tom.
I had a similar situation with Ho'oponopono with my son, who just, for some reason, stopped talking to me. And it got pretty ugly, and nobody's really too sure why. Just some sort of thing that happened in his mind. I don't think anything really happened. We couldn't identify it. So I would listening to Debbie, and we were doing the Ho'oponopono. And I thought, well, okay, let's give it a shot. So I did. And I did it until I felt the shift. And I didn't stop until I felt the shift. But I could feel the cleaning. And the next day, my son walks up and starts talking to me out of the blue. I mean, totally out of the blue. No precursor to it. No, oh, by the way, this happened. And just walked up and started talking to me like we always had all of our entire lives. And I thought, looks like this works. I'm from Cincinnati, and we're sort of cynical. So things like that, I go, that's a little bit too out there for me. But I'll try anything. So it's not out there for me anymore. It's internal. And I talk to other people about it. So thank you.
How long had your son not been talking with you, did you say?
1.5 years.
Oh, so.
And I mean, we're interacting all the time. You know, there's a dog in the middle and other stuff going on. And yeah, it was just got a hair up his butt for something. Excuse my terminology, but yeah, just all of a sudden decided not to talk to me and was nasty about it, which was, not like him at all.
Can I add something? I love that you're using it, Tom. And just for our audience listeners, we cannot use this process to manipulate something. It's not something to manipulate and make things happen. It's to clear the energy that's inside of you. Everything starts with you. And as Tom, I'm just guessing, as Tom cleared his own energy, he said he felt a shift. It means his energy moving out of him has also shifted. And so then, right? I believe in oneness. His son is attached, and yeah, there was a shift that happened in your son, but not to be used for manipulation. Yes, it won't work.
No, you do what you can do, and just it's out there, and it'll do what it's going to do.
Right.
So, yeah.
Thanks for that share.
There's just as an aside, there's a thing I saw about quantum particles, and it has to do with communication. Identical quantum particles, if you take one and put it in New York and you leave the other one in California and you spin the one in California, the one in New York starts spinning. That's the study that I saw. Now, do we have any idea why? No, but there's levels of communication that we don't understand. Doesn't mean they're not there. It's just we can't see them and quantify them right now. So I always kept that in mind when things are presented to me to seem a little bit out there, because that's pretty far out there also.
There is something going on out there.
Something's going on, yeah.
We're learning. Yes, we're learning. Karen, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. I've used a lot of different modalities, and I just want to say that I know about 2 or 3 people who do this on a regular basis, and it's amazing. I mean, I just know from them. Now, I've never been to a clearing, so this was great, and I'm going to start doing it. My question is, and I have seen Joe
Vitale,
thank you.
Yeah.
But I haven't listened to that either. It's kind of one of those things. I keep saying I'm going to play golf and I never do. And I'm in Florida. And so I really am looking forward to this. Now, that really healed you with the fibromyalgia. Do you say that another day? I mean, do you have to say that more than just that one clearing? Do you do that on a consistent basis?
I say it all the time, but as far as the fibromyalgia, I've been healed of that. The other day, I was getting a migraine, and I get the ocular for 20 minutes, and then the throbbing comes on, and I get really sick with migraines. I get nauseous, I vomit, I get diarrhea. I mean, I get the whole works. And then I forget to use these processes, these tools that we know, So anyway, the ocular was coming on, and I thought, I'm just going to stop. And I went to the couch. I sat on the couch, and I just kept saying the 4 declarations over and over. I just kept saying them. And then I get stuck on, I love you. I'll say it 1,000 times. And thank you. I'll say it, another 1,000 times. And then the headache never followed. And that's the first time in my life, since I've had them for years and years, the headache never developed. The ocular went away. So who knows? I don't know. I'm just grateful. Yeah. I say it all the time. Oh, do it when you're driving. You'll be amazed at how traffic will kind of clear for you. The lanes will open up for you. It really works. Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yes. Great. Marina, you had your hand up before.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you also. I think this is beautiful. This is new for me. I'm new to this concept, and this practice is intuitive and not, because just what strikes me is how empowering it is. And at the same time, it's that vulnerability. So that strength and getting in touch with your feelings like that, and to find a way to connect through love, forgiveness, gratitude. It's beautiful. I'm definitely going to be doing this. Yeah, thank you.
I'm so glad, Marina. When I first started exploring it myself, I would break down in tears. When I got to the I'm sorry, I well up. I would break down, and I would just sob. And then the please forgive me. It's like these different parts of yourself come alive. And I got to explore myself in a way I never knew about. And so don't be surprised if you start just crying. You're not even sure what you're sorry about, or you'll start having reflections of things that you did when you were little, stories that happened in your life, or hurt that you caused someone else. That may start to reveal itself, open you up. Yeah, I'm so glad you're going to explore it. And you too, Karen. That's so cool. Yay. Yeah.
I'm going to jump in with a couple questions from the chat, but I encourage anyone else to, raise your hand and break up me just asking a number of things in a row. So there's a question about the I love you. Is that a declaration to the body or more of like your inner self? Or does it matter?
It probably doesn't matter. I don't have all the answers. I only have my own experience. And I think I've applied it both. I have done, I love you physically, like I think about every cell, nerve, tissue, fiber of my being. I talk to my physical body and I talk to my spiritual body. I talk to myself as a whole, and things will just start coming up, right? So you'll have your own exploration, I'm sure. But the I love you, I think we need to say it to ourselves because none of us hear it enough. None of us hear it enough. And we can start by saying it to ourselves. Good question.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
For me personally, I found that words, like saying words to myself, works less when I'm just in silence. And what I wanted to share is that relating to the Ho'oponopono, it's kind of the same thing as like surrender meeting self-empowerment. So like when you're at a place where you find that feeling of surrendering, it's almost like tapping into the inner self. So like saying the Ho'oponopono and this practice is kind of like on the way to getting you there to surrendering. Because I feel like everything else in life, based just from my experience that I've had, when I'm in the surrender mode or like when I'm in the resistance mode, I need to get to the surrender mode in order to like start flowing. Otherwise, like everything, like magnetizes to me, and then I see how it's relevant, whether it's a good thing happening or it's a bad thing happening. But it's like, as soon as it happens, I realize where that was birthed from. Like it came from my inner feeling, the way what I'm projecting, what I'm, the essence, that magnetic essence that, is in the quantum, in the field. And, what Tom was saying, as far as like, one thing happening, in quantum physics, I'm very interested in quantum physics, but that reminds me of like so many scientists talking about that quantum entanglement. That's what they refer to it as. So there is like that connection to the field, to the higher self. And for me, I feel like when I say words, I feel resistance for some reason. Like I'd rather just sit in quiet meditation and in silence. And that's when I get to that place that you're talking about. So it's kind of like the same thing, but just different methods of getting there. Because I've studied like so many different methods. And this is just like one of them. But for me, like I'm always trying to get to the essence of myself, which is like when I'm at that place of surrender, that's the nature, that's the true flow, that's that feeling of like, oh, now I'm connected. Now I can, be empowered and do things, and you know what I mean? So.
Oh, I love that, Bobby. Yes, surrender. That's what you're doing, making those declarations. Absolutely. In gratitude. Surrender with gratitude. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Good share. Thank you.
Another question here. What does it take to move someone from a point of stress, like if they're resistant to being open, or especially to this kind of healing? I know Tom talked a little bit about that, where it seemed very like woo-woo out there at first. Is there a way that you have found to help people? Because I think it's a little bit like, was it Bobby?
Bobby. Yes, Bobby. Sophia is Bobby. Yeah.
Sorry, that's my daughter's name. It's her Zoom account. So I didn't even notice that. Thank you.
So I think it's a little like Bobby, where if someone is just saying the words rote, but they don't believe it or think it'll work, then it probably won't have any effect. So is there any way that you might be able to help someone move past that resistance?
That's such a great question, because I think that's where my brother was at. He says, Debbie, I keep saying it, but I don't feel a shift. I think he was just saying words. I don't think he was connecting with the self. Like he wasn't really being sincere about the words that he's saying. And that I think that's all I could offer, is to say, well, are you just in rote? Are you just saying the words, or are you letting the words affect you inside, like truly meaning the words? Like Jerry was saying, well, who am I saying I love you to? I don't get it. You know, who am I saying what am I sorry for? And I said, it's a process. And as you keep saying it, just keep saying it to yourself, you're going to start feeling different things. It's going to evolve. And I can't tell you on what time or what day, how it's going to happen for you. But if you just trust the process, and she gained money from doing it. I mean, right? She did it. So, if someone's in resistance, it's like, I can't change their religion. If someone's in resistance, that's all I can share is there's something going on inside of you that I think needs to hear that you do love yourself. I remember I had a friend, and I do a meditation every Saturday morning on Facebook under my book title, Calm is the New Happy. I do meditation, and we end every meditation with 4 declarations. And I had a friend that was doing it regularly. And then he said, because I also taught it in a studio, and he came to the studio and he stopped coming. And then when I ran into him, he said, I decided I don't need to tell myself I love you. I don't need to hear that. And I said, okay. And I didn't go anywhere. I just let it be where he's at. About a year later, he came back to me and he said, do you know what? I need to tell myself I love you. He said, I finally got it. And then I lit up, because you can't rush anyone to change their thinking. It's just, we evolve at our own time. And if it's just all woo-woo to you, that's okay. That's where you're at. And I accept that. Yeah. I don't know. Did that answer your question? I've kind of forgot what the question was.
I think resistance. I think that's very apt. And actually, I spoke of my martial arts training earlier. And one of my senseis used to say that when we die, we all know the same. Because all the big, important lessons, really, you learn when you're young, you forget about them, they fall down in the scale of priority, but really, be nice to people, family is important, have a purpose, all those things, we all know them, we just kind of forget, and we accrue all this knowledge and facts, and that kind of buries the important things that we know, and especially the things that we know, as opposed to the things that we know. Yeah. And that process too, I think needs, like you said, it's just time, because someone can tell you these 4 declarations. You're like, okay, logically I understand if I say these things, they'll have an impact. I'll get to that someday when I have time. But you didn't actually really feel it and know it in this deep intuitive sense. And I think you're also right that different people have a different time frame or speed of onboarding things. And some people might need to think about it for a year. And some people might need to practice it for a year before they feel the effect. And other people, maybe they're just really receptive, or they're really in touch with themselves, and it happens very quickly. It doesn't discount, there's no pass fail, there's no judgment. It's not this person did it well and this person did it poorly. It's just, oh, isn't it great that at the end they both got it at some point? But I wanted to comment, you mentioned the meditation group, and I had a thought.
which I put down. I said, what are your thoughts on this as a form of meditation or a mantra? So I thought it was really interesting that you then talked about that you lead a meditation and you end with this. Do you use it or do you think of it as a meditative practice, especially when you're there like 1,000 times, like you mentioned?
Right. Absolutely. It becomes my mantra. Oh, it's beautiful to put yourself to sleep at night, right? Usually you won't get, I'll start with the 4 declarations, but then I'll get stuck on one, the one that needs to resonate. Maybe it's please forgive me that night, please forgive me, please forgive me. And next thing I know, I'm asleep. I use it, put myself to sleep. It's absolutely a meditation. Absolutely. And it's my favorite meditation, actually. I love you is a great mantra. Once I started using Ho'oponopono in my life, I started saying I love you to complete strangers, right? When I'm checking out at the Trader Joe's, I'll say, thank you, I love you. And so many times people will say, I love you back. Like it's just like a reaction. And then we'll both light up, it's like, how often do you hear that from a stranger? But we can change the world doing this, right? I love you. I love you. I love you.
I know you mentioned
Ho'oponopono should be mandatory at this point, at this point in the world's history. I think it just should be mandatory in the morning that everybody do Ho'oponopono.
Right. Do it while you're brushing your teeth.
Like brush your teeth, yeah.
Brush your teeth and just repeat it over and over.
Brush
The world
your
would be
teeth,
so
breakfast, Ho'oponopono. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be a different world? Wow.
And it started here. It started right here on this podcast. We did it.
I had a question here that reminded me. I know you mentioned the meditation group, and sometimes they'll have some kind of I forget what they call it, the kind of noise backgrounds. It's like almost like white noise mixed with the sound of birds or wind or water, kind of a sonic background type thing. So I'm wondering if this, or if anyone knows pairing this with music or any kind of soundscape so that there's like rhythms perhaps to say things to. Have you ever heard of anybody using things like that, or have you experimented with doing it? Because of course music can change our moods and sounds can change our moods so much. And I'm sure saying this out loud and hearing it has a different effect than just thinking it. And so I'm just curious your thoughts on using sound in as part of the practice.
Now that this has been presented to you and it's entered your field, right? You're going to start seeing it everywhere. You go on YouTube, there are so many musicians that have already created songs with these declarations. Like I say, you're going to read other books, you're going to hear other speakers. This is nothing new that I'm introducing. I'm just sharing what I've learned. Absolutely. Combining music with these declarations, very uplifting, very uplifting. And there's on YouTube, you'll see there's many songs already written.
Also in your book, you talk about the 5 steps of conscious awareness to remove stress.
Yes,
Probably
thanks.
too much to go into here, I guess, but.
Right.
Did you want to elaborate on those?
Well, I'll go into it a little bit since you brought it up. So, the 5, I call them 5 stages of awareness. Right. And when we become aware of our being, just that we are a being, and think about what that means. Like we're always doing, right? But if we were just to stop and just be for a moment, imagine you're even a complete void, and just resonate and just let yourself be. That's the first step of awareness. The second, I say the awareness of thinking. So when we when we become aware of what we're thinking, what we're choosing to think, how do we speak to ourselves? How do we react to people? How do we respond? What are the words that are coming out of our mouth? In order for the word to come out, you had to think it. So just becoming aware of that. And then we can go into a whole scale of consciousness and thoughts and the energy it produces. But yeah, that could be a whole other podcast, really, scale of consciousness. Then the third step of awareness is, physical, your physical being. When you think, I say we have a whole universe going on right here. It was Dr. Deepak Chopra in his book, Perfect Health. He made me aware that every cell in our body has intelligence. And when I learned that every cell in my body holds intelligence, and he goes into, it knows the pattern, the birth, the death, I started respecting my body differently. I'm like, well, if every cell has intelligence, I don't treat it that way. I don't talk to my arms and say, good morning, how are you? You look fabulous, but I started to. I'm like, wow, our organs hold intelligence. I don't treat them that way. I take them for granted. So my whole awareness of just my physical body started changing. And then the fourth awareness is love. Becoming aware of love, how much love you've ever received, you've ever been given, how much love you've ever given away. And to just, when we're aware of it, I think we're more open to giving it more freely. And then the fifth stage is the awareness of forgiveness. Yeah. And that is when I bring Ho'oponopono to the table and share it in detail. Forgiveness is such a big, powerful thing. And we are our own authority. We choose who we forgive, and we forgive ourselves. So just becoming aware of that, I think, is very powerful. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
I'm glad you talked a little more about your book. I was going to ask you about that. I'm really interested to know your thoughts on this question, because especially we're all adults here, but how do you help children practice self-introspection or reflecting on some of these things? Is they have less life experience, they're less maybe sophisticated about some of these thoughts or ideas. Is that anything that you know of anyone having done, or have you led anyone, either families or children, through anything like this?
I haven't. I have no experience with children, but I think how fabulous would it be to start to have them just practice Ho'oponopono. And I would love that. I don't. Bobby, have you ever shared it with your daughters or?
No, I have not, but I do teach them like self-awareness and, thoughts and actions, making them conscious of every action that they do. So I start them slowly, kind of program that into their minds. So then they become self-aware.
Yeah.
And like my philosophy is in 2 words: know thyself. So that's what I'm wanting to pass on to them, so they make their own choices. You know what I mean? Based on who they are as individuals, because at the end they are the determiners of their own, creative expressions and creative expansions. So I don't want to like box them in a certain kind of ritual or anything like that, or a mantra or a practice. I just like give them what is more universal, like, this is fact, this is, science, this is who you are. We are like beings of light. We are all connected. God is within. So like those kinds of things for them to understand. And then I think like once they get older, they'll kind of like just develop into it on their own, and be intuitive. But those are the kinds of things I teach them, like to be intuitive and, and
I think, I think it's a great point, Shane, that bringing it into children, into schools, if it was allowed. Some schools are teaching meditation for children, and I know they're getting great results. I think if they were to learn Ho'oponopono early, I don't have children to pass it on to, but if they were to learn it early, I think they'd have a greater sense of responsibility, 100% responsibility for what we're doing. And that's also a foundational point of Ho'oponopono. If we were to go deep into this training, you take on 100% responsibility as a foundation. And that opens up a whole big topic right there. Like, how can we be 100% responsible for everything? And the way I can accept it for myself is I am 100% responsible for my reaction, my opinion, my thought about anything that comes into my life. So if I hear about a war in another country, I'm responsible for my thoughts about that war. What are my judgments? What are my opinion? What's my position? I'm responsible for that. And that's how I get around. Then they say, well, how are you responsible for some, 10-year-old that got raped by a pedophile? Or, I'm like, I'm responsible for my thoughts around that topic. I'm not responsible for that action that happened. It's already in the past. It's happened. But I'm responsible for my thoughts around that. Am I adding to the complication? Am I taking away from the complication? So we can go on and on. Like, how can we be 100% responsible for everything in our life? And that's the way I've been able to accept it. I'm responsible for my thoughts around the topic.
It's a really important aspect of this because so many things will trigger people. Well, they'll have something that they stumble upon by accident. Like you're flipping through the channels, you happen to hear someone saying something, or you happen to see something, some kind of image that really affects you. And it might be because of that thing itself, or it might strike a memory or some kind of thing that happened to you personally that was traumatic. And all of a sudden you fall down into this thought process, or you get stuck in a loop. Like you mentioned earlier, have an argument, and then it's affecting you hours later. It's like the day has progressed, but you haven't. You're still stuck in that moment. And so learning how to release those things or not get stuck or bogged down in them, and realizing, like you said, this is my reaction, this is my thought, this is my connection to this thing, and I can not necessarily change them, but I can change me. And I also thought it was very important, especially the awareness of the forgiveness, because that too is something that I think people forget, that they have the power to do that. And not only to other people, but perhaps more importantly to themselves. Like you mentioned, the person saying, I don't need to say I love you to me. And then realizing later, like, oh no, it's really important. I think it was also really important for you to say, we don't say that, we don't hear that enough, and we don't say that to ourselves. What are your thoughts on that difference between all this external? I think it's much more common for people to say these things to others and not say them to ourselves. What is it about that makes this so powerful that we say these things to us?
Oh, yes. What is it so powerful about that? I have feelings about this, and I've never expressed it, so I don't know that I have the words to put it together, Shane, but I'm going to give it a whirl, okay? Here. I believe there are different parts of ourselves. We have the me, myself, and I. I think that is true. I think we have a me, myself, and I. And I believe the I is connected to a divine, that it's connected to an infinite intelligence, something greater than ourselves. And I think the me is maybe that egocentric part of us that's just concerned about us being protected and being on top. And perhaps the myself is the go-between, the spirit or something. I've never really put this all into words. It's just feelings. And and now I forgot your question. How embarrassing. See, I went off.
I was just wondering what you thought about what the power might be of
the
us
power
saying
of
this
us,
to ourselves.
There you go. Yes, thank you. And so I think that is part of the power for me, because when I'm saying I love you, I love you, I love you, I actually can feel myself like go from the myself to talking to the ego, to talking to that divinity, the I can feel they start exchanging with each other inside there. This is really bizarre. I'm sure I've never put it into words before, but that's, and then I start like really experiencing, I love you. I really do. I love you, Debbie, whatever is going on inside there. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And you start feeling a shift. I don't know what that is, Shane. That's a great question. What is it that just hearing that from ourselves can be so powerful?
Self-love is the most important. That's the platform you have to start from. You have to love yourself really before you can really love anybody else. Don't you think?
I used to think that until a girlfriend said to me, that's not true, because we would never be able to love anyone, So I remember Melanie Kubert said that to me, who has passed. But I don't know. We all speak it. We all say we have to love ourselves, but then how many of us really come through doing that?
I don't know.
I'm always challenged. I'm always, looking deeper into myself and trying to love myself more. And then, some days I don't treat myself well, but I keep working at it. Anyway, it does feel good to say it. It feels good to say I'm sorry too, to whatever's going on inside there, that little child inside us that never got healed, that hurt that we've held on to for so long, that doubt, that maybe guilt that we're holding on to for something we've done. And so just to say I'm sorry to myself and please forgive me, to ask myself for forgiveness. It's very powerful stuff. I don't understand how it all works. I just know this stuff works. Yeah.
To circle back to the little kids for a minute. If you picture a couple kids about kindergarten age, and one of them does something to the other one, teaching them to say, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, should be fairly simple if you start early enough. And wouldn't that be nice?
And wouldn't it be nice if they heard it from their parents more?
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's start there. Yeah.
Let's start there. If they hear it from their parents, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. That could change the world right there if they heard it from their parents.
And if nations said it to each other.
And if nations said it to each other.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
If everybody just said it to each other.
You're on it. Yeah.
5 or 6 times a day. Yep.
Yeah. I'm with you.
That reminds me, there was when I was younger, I went to the same church all while I was growing up. And I remember there was which I completely forgot about this until just now. There was an older woman in the congregation
that rather than saying sorry or excuse me, she always said forgive me whenever she was going to pass someone or have to go around or interrupt anyone. Or that was her way of saying sorry, excuse me, pardon me. It was forgive me. And hearing that again now, I don't know if she chose that consciously or that was just how she learned to say it. Whereas because she was in church, maybe she didn't say that outside of church. But little things like that, we talked about words earlier, and I found that being very conscious of my word choices, like I get to instead of I have to, or I want to instead of I need to, can really change the way I feel about things. And I wonder if maybe there's opportunities, even just in our day, to make changes that might reflect some of these things, like greeting people with "and I love you," or automatically giving a thank you whenever you have an interaction with something. Have you found that aspect of this for you at all? Or is it more of just the technique part?
Have I found that aspect make a change my life, or have I found that aspect, you say, work for me? Is that what you were asking?
You mentioned saying like "I love you" to people at the checkouts, and I wonder if any of these other things have become more part of your day-to-day speech or just more in your life, or do you use them more of just like the technique of like, I'm going to say these things to myself?
Well, I have found, thank you comes out of my mouth very easily. And I have found that when I do get in a head bump with someone, I have been able to come forward more quickly and say, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I have been able to apply it in my actual social life. Whereas before, maybe it would drag out for a number of days, or I'd wait for them to make the call, or, I have been able to take full responsibility and step up much quicker. Usually within that same day, I'm able to come around. I still need to process it a little bit because I'm upset and I hated what she said, or I hated what we did. I'm still human and I need to process that. But I have been able to come around much quicker, ask for forgiveness, tell them I'm sorry for what I did or how I received it, or expressed myself. That has made a change in my life. So sometimes I don't know if that just comes with age, we get wiser, or if it's because of the Ho'oponopono process, that I use so often. I really think Ho'oponopono has changed my personality. It's changed the way I look at things. It's the way I've become so much more open and accepting of a lot of things. And I think that has played a big part of it. Yeah.
Is that what inspired you to write the book? Is that process of Ho'oponopono, or it came after?
That was a part of it. It was a big part of it, because that's what healed my body, right? When I had the fibromyalgia, and then I realized what it was called many years later. I think what inspired me to write the book is funny, because I didn't set out to write a book at all. I was leading meditation classes, and my students asked me to create a CD. They said, could you put this all in a CD so I can listen to it at night, or, when I'm doing the dishes, and I'm CD, we're talking right years ago. So I said, yeah, I can do that. I don't know how to make a CD, but what would I say on the CD? So I actually sat down and started writing what I would put on the CD. And it was like 5-minute meditation that's at the back of the book, right? The 5-minute meditation. Well, in order for them to do this part of the meditation, they kind of need to know that. Oh, well, then they kind of need to know that. And I was like outlining it backwards. And I realized this is a whole book, because it was so much information just being downloaded through me. And yeah, And I just went for it. I started writing it and decided to make it a book. And then I remember back when I was in my 20s. Okay, guys, this is just between you and me, right? I used to smoke a lot of pot when I was young.
No, do tell. Do tell.
And I remember I was high one day, one evening, and I had this thought. It was, you're going to write a book. You're going to write a book. Huh, that's interesting. And I didn't think about it again for years and years and years and years. And then when I was writing the book, I was like halfway through it, I remembered that occurrence. I'm like, oh, I remember thinking, I'm going to write a book. And it was just a statement, like a fact. It was just like a for sure thing. And so there you go. I ended up writing a book. I thought it was going to be a CD. I never to this day made the CD. It became a book. I guess we lost Bobby. That was nice having him here. This has been very fun.
I'd like to ask if anyone else has any questions or thoughts before we start to wrap up. We like to make sure that we keep to kind of 90 minutes at the longest, and we're almost there in the next 10 minutes or so. Tom, Andrea, Ben, any final thoughts or questions for Debbie?
Do you still smoke marijuana?
You're funny. I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't do any drugs. I've even cut way back on drinking alcohol. I have a glass of wine occasionally, but very light, even on alcohol now.
I've heard that the pot's a lot better now than it was then. I don't know.
Oh,
That's what I hear.
there's so many different grades now, right? With the stores open. I don't know. I couldn't get, I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
Do you guys-
I can go right down the street and buy all the pot I want. That's hilarious. Not that I would, but I could. I've been in the store.
Hey, Bobby, I'm glad you're back. We're just doing a final round robin of any questions or comments. If you have any final things you'd like to say or ask.
Yeah, sorry, I had, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I had technical difficulties. My computer just turned off, so I'm on my cell phone. But I just want to take the opportunity to thank Debbie for, arranging this and for everything to synchronistically come together, and everyone else to be that came and joined us. I want to thank all of you and, the sharing and the opportunity. So I really appreciate that. So thank you to all.
Thank you. Thank you for opening the email.
Yeah, I know. It was so
thank you.
synchronistic. I was like, oh my God, it's today. Today's my birthday. What a great present.
Oh,
Sure,
it's your birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. So it worked out. And I had to drive here, and I was like, this started with traffic, and I'm like, I'm not going to make it. There's no way I'm going to do it. And I put it out there like, I am going to make it. I visualized like having this much amount of time left, getting the computer, and then right when I log in is going to be like perfect timing. So that in a way is kind of like Ho'oponopono, but like just in a meditative state without saying anything.
Sourcing it. Yeah, you sourced it.
Yeah, I feel like that's where my power is in like silence and in stillness more than, saying things, because to me it gets lost. Like, who am I talking to? Where's it going? So, but everything just happens synchronistically in that way. And so I appreciate you and everyone else on the call. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that story. And how cool. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Neat. Thank you so much.
Thank you for spending your time with us tonight on your birthday.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me and thinking of me. That's the most important one.
Sweet.
Ditto.
Debbie, I want to make sure we get a chance to spotlight you and anything that you have coming up or anything other than your book that you might like to share or tell people about.
Well, I will reiterate, I do a meditation every Saturday morning. It's free, no charge, right? And it's on Facebook. Calm is the New Happy Facebook page. And it's at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And it lasts about 30 minutes. And we open with just a little conversation in the beginning, and then we do about a 15, 20-minute meditation. We end every meditation with Ho'oponopono, a sincere, verbal, heartfelt Ho'oponopono process. And I'd love to have more people join us. A lot of people hit the replay, right? And there's many replays you can go there and see. I think I'm on week 155, something like that. I've done 155 weeks in a row now, which is a good thing. Let's see, what else do I have coming up? I don't have any I'm doing a training currently. I'm training on the 11 laws of the universe, and that's been happening on Saturday at 4 p.m. And the best way to connect with me there is to get on my email list, and then you'll get the link, the Zoom link, and the Facebook page to do that training. I believe we're on week 9. Yes, we have about 2 weeks left for the 11 laws. That's going on. And yeah, I'm a dance instructor. Tom mentioned that in the very beginning. I have a dance business in Lomita, California, and I specialize in West Coast swing. If anyone wants to come out and learn West Coast swing, that would be a great place to connect with us. We do beginning, intermediate, and advanced levels, and that's always fun. And I think that's about a wrap. Unless you want to work with me one-on-one, of course, I do personal coaching. I use the Timeless Wisdom method, which incorporates things like this Ho'oponopono process, and we go deep into the training. It incorporates scale of consciousness, which I learned from Dr. David Hawkins, and that is understanding the energy that we create when we're at different levels of thought. And we go into clarity, like personal clarification for where you want to go in life, and finding inner peace. And that's always available at my website, debbiedequino.com.
So thank you, everyone, for being here. It was great to meet some new people and see some new people. There's always a better discussion when it's more than just me and the guest. So thank you for taking some time and for joining us. And hopefully I'll see you on the next call. Good night, everyone.
Excellent. Night, everyone. Love you.
Hey, my name is James. I'm a lawyer who's always been interested in optimal human performance, and that's how I found Shane. If you're looking to upgrade your mental and physical fitness, then the Ultimate Performance course is for you. It's the key to performing better at work, at home, and in all of life's challenges. I've also found it to be a great community of like-minded and supportive professionals. As Shane says, together, everyone accomplishes more.
Want to have your ultimate performance or find out more about how to optimize your mind and body fitness? Contact me at shaneborza.com and see if the DIY or the group program would be best for you. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Solve Network. These interviews are from our web series of the same name. Want to watch? Head over to YouTube and search for the Solve Network. If you have questions, you can reach out to me at shaneborza.com. On behalf of my co-founder, Benjamin Goss, we're glad you are a part of the network and hope you are finding solutions. If you need solutions, please reach out.